Get ready, Friar Faithful. This is the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network.
Jackson swings, hits it in the air, deep to right field. He has done it again. Unbelievable.
Coming up, we'll have a recap of the previous Padres game, a preview of today's starting pitching matchup, our keys to the game. Plus, we'll hear from manager Mike Shildt.
Ultimately, what we're here to do is win.
From the Padres Radio Network, here's Sam Levitt.
San Diego Padres baseball coming up on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. Today, the Padres take on the Cincinnati Reds in the final game of a three-game series. Our starting pitching matchup today for the Reds, left-hander Andrew Abbott, and for the Padres, right-hander Nick Pivetta. Hi, good everyone. Sam Levitt with you from inside the lofts here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park. First pitch coming up at 5:40 p.m. as the Padres and Reds play the rubber game of this three-game set. A lot to do in the next 50 minutes. We'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt, tonight's shortstop for the Padres, Jake Cronenworth, Red starting pitcher Hunter Greene, and in just a little bit, we'll check in with Padres broadcaster Bob Scanlan. But first, it's time to set the table, brought to you by Fraser Farms Market. Set your table with the highest quality of natural and organic products from Fraser Farms Market, a San Diego original since 1971 with 3 locations, La Mesa Vista and Oceanside, and at FraserFarmsMarket.com. Padres entered today 79-66. They enter the day 2 games behind the LA Dodgers for first place in the National League West. The Padres hold the NL second wild card spot. Entering today, they're 3 games up on the Mets, who hold the final wild card spot, and they're 3 games behind the Cubs for the first wild card spot. Reds, meanwhile, on the outside looking in right now at 73-72. They're 3 games behind the Mets for that last wild card spot in the National League. Well, the Padres and Reds played the middle game of their series here at Petco Park last night. Let's rewind.
Did you miss what happened in the last Padres game? Let's take a look back with our Padres Rewind on the Padres Radio Network.
Michael King took the mound for the Padres last night in his return from the IL, his first start in a month. King got the first out of the game, but then it was the rookie, Sal Stewart.
1 out, nobody on. Sal Stewart starting at first base here tonight for the Reds will stand in. Right-handed batter swings at the first pitch, hits it in the air, high and deep to center. Merrill is at the wall. This one gonna go. Oh boy, what a moment for Sal Stewart. His second major league home run. And as he rounds second and heads to third, he's going to be able to make eye contact with Manny Machado, his big brother, as he calls him, his mentor, one of his best friends. And he comes all the way home to score after a long home run here in the top of the first inning.
King gave up another home run to Will Benson in the second. It was 2-0. Padres still trailed 2-0 in the top of the fourth inning. There was a runner on base for the Reds, Tyler Stevenson.
Swings to the first pitch, sends it in the air to deep right center. Fernando is back. He's at the wall. He leaps up. He reaches over, and he made the catch. Oh, unbelievable. Throw back to first. O'Hearn had to come off the bag and could not tag Lux for the double play, but hang a star for Fernando Tatis Jr., who just robbed another homer.
Incredible play from Fernando. Padres still trailing just 2-0. Michael King would allow the 2 runs in 5 innings. Bottom of the 5th inning, Zach Littell still on the mound for the Reds. Ramon Laureano drew a leadoff walk. Jackson Merrill was next.
Not running, and Merrill rips it on a line over the head of Stewart and down the right field side. It'll bounce and roll into the corner. Laureano's at third. He's going to be waved by Tim Leeper. Throw comes into the cutoff man. No play. Merrill head first into third. Another triple. And this one puts the Padres on the board. It's 2-1.
Padres scored another run to tie it at 2 in the 5th inning. We were still tied at 2. Going to the 9th inning, Robert Suarez on the mound for the Padres. He got the first 2 outs, but then issued a walk. Tyler Stevenson was next for Cincinnati.
Stevenson swings, hits it in the air, deep down the left field line, towards the corner, and gone, a home run. Tucked it into the first balcony of the Western Metal Building, just to the right of the yellow line, and a 2-run homer here in the 9th inning for Tyler Stevenson has put the Reds back on top. It's 4-2.
Padres would go down in order against Emilio Pagan in the bottom half of the ninth inning, and that was it last night. Final score, Reds 4 and the Padres 2, setting up the rubber game of this 3-game series here today in downtown San Diego. Let's go inside the Jerry Coleman Broadcast Center.
Let's take a trip up to the Padres broadcast booth for a deep dive on today's matchup with Bob Scanlan in our Padres game preview on the Padres Radio Network.
All right, Scans, let's start with this today. The first inning. Padres continue to give up home runs in the first inning of games. They gave one up on Monday night. They gave one up last night. I don't know if you have the answer, but I'm going to ask you anyway. How do the Padres avoid this continuing problem in the first inning?
Well, I guess in the first case, don't throw back-to-back curveballs with the second one not being as good. And in the second case, don't throw a sweeper out over the plate. I mean, it's just, a couple of missed locations early in the ball games. I mean, I don't want to read too much into it, right? I mean, things can happen in the first inning, especially, in the case of Michael King, he hasn't pitched in a long time. So did we expect him to be perfect, right from the get-go? No, absolutely not. And I really enjoyed watching Michael throw yesterday. It was great to see him back out there. And there were a couple of mistakes that cost him home runs. But other than that, I thought his stuff looked good. He seemed to get stronger as it went on. Good action on his two-seamer and his changeup especially. So I thought there were a lot of positives yesterday. And I'm not going to get too focused on one bad pitch in the first inning there, Sam.
All right, fair enough. Maybe it just bugged me today as I'm doing all these numbers on the first inning home runs. But you're right. Michael King was very good yesterday in his return from the IL. Let's talk about another guy who has been really, really good. That is, of course, right-hander Nick Pivetta on the mound for the Padres today. We've talked a lot about him, Scans, why he's been so good, but what do you view as his keys today against this Reds lineup in particular?
It doesn't matter what the lineup is. Nick Pivetta just being Nick Pivetta, right? I mean, the way he is able to command his fastball in the top part of the zone. And the only teams that have given him problems this year really are the ones that have been super patient in not chasing that pitch upstairs and forcing him to be able to throw it for a strike. And once he does, then they've got to start swinging, right? But the patient teams are sort of in a mode of, okay, prove to me that you can throw it up there for a strike, get the call for a strike up there. Once you do that, okay, then I'll start chasing. Most teams don't have that kind of patience because you see that fastball upstairs and you think, I can get to it. The problem is you can't. And then once you start swinging at it, he's able to elevate it more out of the zone. So that's such a great weapon for him. And I'm really curious to see how the Reds approach him tonight in terms of their forcing him to show that he can throw that strike at the top part of the zone and get the call up there. When he's got it going on, forget about it. And the other nice thing about Nick is, and we've seen this also a couple of times, where teams have shown some patience early in the game, Sam, in terms of, okay, show me, prove to me that you can get the call strike up there. And when he doesn't get it, it's not that he's not capable of throwing down in the zone. And so he can start throwing fastballs down and be just as effective. I mean, that's not where he chooses to be most of the time, but he can go down there when he wants to or needs to. And I think that's what's made him so effective, Sam. He knows what his strengths are. When they're going on, it doesn't matter what the lineup is. And on a given night where it doesn't maybe have his best stuff or his best command of the top part of the zone, he's not a one-trick pony. He can go to other places in the strike zone with his other weapons as well. So it's just been a joy to watch him pitch.
On the other side of this pitching matchup, left-hander Andrew Abbott on the mound for Cincinnati. He's been very good this year. He's traditionally been very good against the Padres, although he's been a little bit shakier his last 7 starts or so. Your view on Andrew Abbott, what he's going to try to do tonight?
Well, look, he's not overpowering, right? But what we saw him do in the first series against the Padres is he's got good fastball command. He's basically working away. He'll show you inside at times, but it's that fastball command that he's able to get to the outside corner that sets up the off-speed pitches. What's really interesting about him, Sam, is he has really struggled in the second half. And you pointed out the struggles that he'd had this year in the last 7 games. That's not new to him. He struggled last year, the same thing. He had a 3.39 in the first half, and then it went up to a 4.83. The year before that, he had a 2.38 and went up to a 4.79. So this is not a new phenomena for him. And in going in a little bit deeper, there are some things that you can see that he is not doing as effectively. And Jesse and I will talk about that a little bit more in the broadcast. But, you can look at some of the numbers and say, oh, okay, he's not doing that as well. He's not tricking people with this pitch quite as much. And what's also interesting is some of those numbers really play out against left-hand batters, Sam. And again, Jesse and I will go into more details in the broadcast about it. But there's a reason that there's some left-handers in the lineup tonight against him, even though he's a lefty. And it's going to be really interesting to watch how this plays out because he's just not been as sharp. So I'm not expecting to see the same guy that we saw earlier in the season that was pinpoint.
Bob, good insight as always. We'll talk to you and Jesse coming up at 5:30. As always, thanks so much.
Sounds good. Thanks, Sam.
All right, Bob Scanlan joining us on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show here on the Padres Radio Network as we get ready for tonight's game. First pitch coming up in just a little bit. Rubber game of this 3-game set between the Padres and the Cincinnati Reds. As always, if you want to get involved on our pregame coverage, you can do that in a number of different ways. You can find me on X at SammyLev, SammyLev. Same handle on Instagram. The DMs are open. You can also comment on the 97.3 The Fan YouTube stream. Let me know who you are, where you're tuned in from, and if you have a key to tonight's game, let me know what it is, and I may just read your key to the game coming up a little bit later on. When we come back, we hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Much more to come on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show right here on the Padres Radio Network. EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as we get ready for today's game on a beautiful late afternoon on this Wednesday, turning into early evening here in downtown San Diego. It is Dylan Cease no-hitter bobblehead night, so many people here early. Loft is very active right now. We've got people enjoying beers and their mixed drinks and some Cracker Jack, and everybody having a good time on this Wednesday night as we get ready for the rubber game of this 3-game set. This series with the Cincinnati Reds is presented by Singleton Schreiber, local lawyers, national resources. Singleton Schreiber, an official partner of the San Diego Padres. First look at the Padres lineup here today. It looks like this. Fernando Tatis Jr. in right field leading off. Luis Arraez at second base batting second. Manny Machado at third base batting third. Gavin Sheets, the DH, batting cleanup. Ramon Laureano in left field batting fifth. Jackson Merrill in center batting 6th. Ryan O'Hearn at first base batting 7th. Jake Cronenworth back at shortstop today batting 8th. And Elias Diaz doing the catching for Nick Pivetta on the mound against left-hander Andrew Abbott, who takes the mound for Cincinnati. As we get ready for first pitch coming up at 5:40, let's hear from the Padres skipper.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Served up by Sin Lee Food, where fresh meets flavor. Find farm fresh produce, bold Asian spices, and gourmet ingredients at 4665 El Cajon Boulevard. Sin Lee Food, the cook's Asian resource.
Well, the moment that decided last night's game was Robert Suarez giving up a 2-run home run to Tyler Stevenson in the top of the 9th inning, gave the Reds a 4-2 lead. Reds went on to win by that final score. So earlier today, Mike Shildt was asked if he's given any thought to Mason Miller closing games for the Padres.
Yeah, I mean, Miller has closed when Suarez isn't available. Miller also, like last night, took down the top of the order. You can have your perspective on what's high leverage. 8's high leverage and 9's high leverage. High leverage is relative to where the lineup is. We've used Miller in the 7th at the top of the order. When Jason was here, we did the same thing with Jason. We used Morejon in a lane, but for example, for tonight, he might be in a different situation of high leverage. The other thing that factors in is, you look at the percentage. I mean, Suarez gave up a homer last night, so I understand the question. But I also know based on save percentage and also just based on the fact he's been an all-star the last 2 years, he's been a guy that's been really good for us, and he's been exceptionally good for us since the all-star break and the trade deadline. That, he pitched the 9th last night, and it didn't work out, but he's also been a big part of the success that we've had, and he's leading the league in saves for a reason.
Mike, offensively with Jake Cronenworth this season, he's trending towards having a career high on base percentage, walking as much as he's ever walked before. What have your thoughts been on his season at the plate?
Quietly good, to trending towards great. And I'm glad you brought it up because he's put a lot of energy and time into it. The swing decisions continue to be good. The on-base percentage, as you mentioned, is really high. He's been more consistent against lefties this year. His approach, he's got 2 things working for him in concert consistently, and that's having a good stroke, nice short stroke, coupled with a good approach. Those 2 things are in concert, then you're going to have good at-bats. Good at-bats mean more walks and more hits.
What has been the key about Pivetta to having his production go to another level this year?
I think a lot of things, quite frankly. But I think Nick's gotten to that point where, he's gotten the ability to have that sweet spot in his life where he's gone through a lot of different experiences and as a starter and worked through getting deeper in games and what pitches work for him, how to turn over lineups. So that's been probably a work in progress for him for probably his big league career as a starter. And guys get to that point in their career where they learn to do that. I think also he's, really comfortable with who he is and how he operates here and the game plan here. And he's playing with a good team.
Mike, I know you don't have to put the cart before the horse, but that's not going to stop me. How much?
It's not.
No, it's not.
Yeah, no, man, I'm grateful for it.
How much are the next few weeks about figuring out how your playoff roster might take place, especially on the pitching side? I
think that today dictates our ability to be in the playoffs and to put ourselves in the best position in the playoffs. So, I know it's. I mean, look, you're mindful of it. You're thinking of it. You're clearly planning for it. But I do know it's a trap if you're starting to set up things now for something that's going to happen in October when October's not guaranteed yet.
That was Padres manager Mike Shildt earlier today inside the Padres dugout. We'll hear more from Mike in just a little bit. We'll get the latest on Xander Bogaerts as he works his way back from that left foot fracture. So we'll hear from Mike again in just a little bit. Let's quickly pause for station identification right here on the Padres Radio Network.
KWFN and KWFN HD1 San Diego.
Hi, this is Jackson Merrill. The Padres play here on 97.3 The Fan.
And Odyssey Sports Station.
Sam Levitt with you here inside the loft at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as we get ready for today's game. First pitch coming up at 5:40. Rubber game of this 3-game series between the Padres and the Cincinnati Reds. Nick Pivetta on the mound for the Padres today. Left-hander Andrew Abbott, who's a good left-hander in the National League, on the mound for Cincinnati. Good starting pitching matchup. Another big one here today in downtown San Diego. Let's take you around the horn.
Let's examine the most important news and the latest information you need to know in the world of Major League Baseball. Sam Levitt takes you around the horn. Presented by Valley View Casino and Hotel. Get ready for Major League winning when you join Valley View Casino and Hotel's Players Club and receive over $200 in free instant offers. Visit valleyviewcasino.com to learn more today.
Couple of quick headlines for you. Former Cubs All-Star Anthony Rizzo is returning to the organization as an ambassador for the club and will retire as a Chicago Cub during an on-field ceremony at Wrigley Field. Before Saturday's game against the Tampa Bay Rays, Rizzo played 14 years in the major leagues, including a decade in Chicago, made 3 All-Star teams, won 4 Gold Gloves with the Cubs. He helped lead the Cubs to a World Series title, of course, in 2016, the first for the organization in 108 years. Of course, Rizzo made his major league debut with the Padres back in 2011, although he only hit 141 in 49 games with the Padres that year. He then played for the Cubs year after that and really found his footing in the major leagues. Houston Astros placed right-hander Luis Garcia on the 15-day IL today with right elbow discomfort a day after he exited his start against the Blue Jays. Garcia was making just his second start after sitting out for more than 2 years while recovering from Tommy John surgery. So not good news for the Astros, who continue to deal with a number of pitching injuries. And that's a quick look at a couple of headlines from around baseball on this Wednesday, September 10th. Well, as usual, when visiting teams come to San Diego, we like to catch up with some of the brightest stars in our game. And certainly, Red starting pitcher Hunter Greene is one of them. Greene will not appear in this series, but is a 2.59 ERA in 16 starts this year. He has dealt with some injuries this year. A 2.75 ERA in 26 starts last year. He's really turned into one of the best pitchers in the National League from a starting standpoint. So always good to catch up with a guy like that. I caught up with Hunter Greene inside the Reds clubhouse. Sam Levitt here on the Padres Radio Network as we get ready for today's game against the Cincinnati Reds. And right now I'm joined by Red starting pitcher Hunter Greene in the midst of a great season. We won't see him this week here at Petco Park, but Hunter, you continue to put up great numbers, do great things in the National League. How would you characterize your season so far?
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's been good to get back with the team, and obviously I missed a little chunk of time, and the team's been grinding a lot and trying to keep us in, and they've done a great job. So yeah, just trying to continue to lead and be a good force when I'm on the mound. So yeah.
You mentioned this team grinding and obviously getting late in the season. You guys are pushing for a playoff spot. How would you describe kind of the vibe inside this clubhouse as you guys come down the home stretch?
I'm just trying to stay focused, take one day at a time, and stay present, and trying to make the most out of every single pitch, trying to winning every single pitch, whether it's on defense side or the offensive side. And yeah, just continuing to play up to the competition, and not just play up, but also dominate and continue to push. So yeah, that's all.
Hunter, the last couple of years, you've been excellent. Sub-3 ERA last year, sub-3 ERA so far this year. If you had to boil it down to a few keys to your performance as of late, what would they be?
Just continuing to stay, hungry. Not getting too complacent, and keeping the main thing, and keep my eye on the prize. So that's really it. And just continuing to refine little things and make little adjustments here and there that I need to make. And I feel like the game will tell you that, when you need to maybe go back to the drawing board sometimes and figure some things out. But, I feel like I'm just continuing to get even more comfortable in my own skin and even that much more as a pitcher. So, yeah, it's been fun.
Who are some of the guys from a pitching standpoint that you look up to that have been mentors for you over the course of the last few years?
CC Sabathia most. I have a really good relationship with him. I love watching Sandy Alcantara. He's a fantastic pitcher. Obviously, he's had a rough go this year, but by no means does it define him as a player or a person. So I know he'll be back on top here pretty soon. Wheeler's always fun to watch. I just have totally different stuff than he has. obviously seeing Skeens do what he does. There's so many great pitchers, especially starting pitchers that are in the game right now. So it's an exciting time for starting pitchers for sure.
Finally, first year playing for Terry Francona. What's that experience been like?
Yeah, very special. Obviously, his track record speaks for itself and has a lot of great history within the sport. And is respected, not just with his own players, but players across the way on the opposing side. And just to see the amount of conviction he has behind what he says, and it'll be very, very fun to continue to play for him the next few years.
Hunter, very much appreciate the time. Talk to you again down the road.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
That was Red starting pitcher Hunter Greene. Again, we won't see him this series against the Padres, but good catching up with Hunter inside the Reds clubhouse. Earlier, got a little perspective on the Reds and playing for Terry Francona. We'll hear from Jake Cronenworth and Gavin Sheets coming up in just a little bit as well. First pitch coming up at 5:40 here at Petco Park as the Padres go for a series win against the Cincinnati Reds, or EcoWater SoCal. Padres pregame show continues after this on the Padres Radio Network.
When you watch people on TV, have you ever wondered what are these foam things that go over the microphone? Let me show you.
This is a windscreen. They're really helpful when you're broadcasting outside.
Without it, do you hear that wind? But with it on, I sound much more clear.
Welcome to a day in my life as a minor league baseball broadcaster. Start my day with a cup of coffee, then to the stadium. Go to my booth, spend the morning cutting video from the night before, catching up on email, and researching for tonight's game. Then I go home, shower, get my work clothes, and on this day I made a stop for lunch. Barbecue. Then I drive back to the stadium, get our equipment ready like setting up all the mics. I watch batting practice, talk to the players, coaches, write my lineups in, keep researching, and prep for my pregame interviews. Change from this to this. I head down to the field, host my pregame show on TV, then back upstairs where I broadcast every pitch on TV and radio.
And the Sob Poodles win! When you watch baseball on TV or listen to it on the radio, have you ever wondered how you hear this sound so clearly?
At my stadium, that sound comes from this mic behind home plate. It's wired all the way up to my broadcast booth, where I plug it in, and that's how you hear it. During my broadcast last night, everyone wanted me to say avocado. Could I do it? Beautiful night here in San Antonio. So nice it almost feels like that feeling when you break open an avocado, you spread it on a good piece of toast, you take a bite in the morning, and with that, the 2021 season, and with that, the 2022 season, and with that, the 2023 season, and with that, the 2024 season comes to an end. Good night. As a baseball broadcaster, many of you have asked me some version of this. Why do I peek down when a fly ball goes in the air? Let me show you. In my scorebook, I write down the defense and where every player is. That way, I can do this. 2-2 on the way. Swinging a drive into left. Going back, Matajevic drifting by the fence. He's looking up and say goodbye.
People keep asking how I go to the bathroom during games. Here's the answer. I run. The bathroom is far away. Really far. I only have 90 seconds.
Bottom half of the sixth
I'm
inning.
Always out of breath.
Frisco 3, Amarillo 2.
How other broadcasters handle a foul ball.
Yeah! Hacks!
How I handle
3-2.
one.
Hit foul, straight back this way. Oh my goodness.
When you watch people on TV, have you ever wondered what are these foam things that go over?
Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park. EcoWater SoCal. Your water should be perfect. Lot to do on our pregame coverage still. We'll hear from Jake Cronenworth in just a little bit. We'll have our keys to the game and take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard. Our starting pitching matchup here today. Nick Pivetta on the mound for the Padres. Andrew Abbott on the mound for Cincinnati. We'll dive much deeper into our starting pitching matchup coming up a little bit later as well. First, let's give you the latest on Xander Bogaerts.
Who's in? Who's out? This is the Bada Fulkerson Injury Report, presented by San Diego's Bulldog Injury Attorneys, who hope you're never in an accident. But if you are, make Bada Fulkerson the first call you make. Hit them up 24/7 at badafulkerson.com.
Here was Padres manager Mike Shildt earlier today. The latest update on Xander Bogaerts, what he's up to.
Bogey's been cleared to accelerate his baseball activities, and it's going to be a day-to-day situation. But, I met with him just a moment ago, and, it's going to go as tolerated, and he's going to go based on how he feels, and then we're going to progress in baseball related on a day-to-day team bogey meeting.
Has there been enough healing that's taken place to clear it? Is that what?
That's correct. Yeah, that's right. There's been enough healing. He feels good. He's recovering well to where, like today, he threw, did some side-to-side work. He's starting to hit, and we start the baseball progression and see if it gets interrupted or see if it's able to continue to gain momentum.
The boot is gone?
I haven't seen it. Yeah, don't want to.
That was Padres manager Mike Shildt, the latest on Xander Bogaerts as he continues to work his way back from that fracture in his left foot. So all the news continues to be good on Xander. We'll see what continues to transpire in his rehab process. And that was the latest on the X-Man, Xander Bogaerts. And we'll hear from tonight's Padres shortstop, Jake Cronenworth, coming up in just a little bit. First, let's give you our keys to tonight's game.
How will the Padres unlock a win today? These are the keys to the game. Presented by El Centro Motors Ford. Meet your new Ford General Manager, Greg Ryan, now at El Centro Motors Ford, your new Ford truck, Bronco, and SUV HQ. Call Greg directly at 619-944-0774.
Key number one, Manny making an impact. Manny Machado went 0 for 4 last night. He is now 0 for 4 in this series in both games. 0 for 8 combined in this series. Manny is batting just 199 with a 566 OPS in 36 games since August 1st. He's batting just 148 in his past 15 games. It's no secret. It has been a really rough time for Manny going back to the beginning of August. And the bottom line is this: if you watch the Padres as much as I know you all do, you know Manny Machado is a huge, huge key to this team's success. The Padres desperately need Manny Machado to get it going here tonight and to make an impact on these games. It's not really happening as of late, so that is key number one, Manny making an impact. Key number two, I mentioned this with Bob Scanlan earlier. Don't give up a home run in the first inning. Padres starting pitchers have been better lately, but they continue to give up homers in the first inning. Sal Stewart's home run yesterday against Michael King was the 13th first-inning home run Padres pitchers have allowed in the last 32 games. To give you a little context, they allowed just 9 first-inning home runs in the first 113 games of the season. It's happened 13 times in the past 32 games. So, if you're Nick Pivetta, somehow, some way, don't give up a home run in the first inning. Don't allow the Cincinnati Reds to take a first-inning lead on a home run here tonight. That's key number two. Key number three, more Merrill madness. One of the real good things happening for the Padres right now, Jackson Merrill has looked great the last few days. He's in the midst of a 4-game hitting streak, 7 for 16 in that span with 2 doubles, 2 triples, a home run, and 4 RBIs. And key number 4, let's stay on the offense. A better Luis Arraez. He's hitting just .223 with 6 runs scored in his last 27 games. Padres could use more from Luis Arraez, batting second tonight between Fernando Tatis Jr. and Manny Machado. And that's a look at our keys to tonight's game as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 5:40 right here on the Padres Radio Network. Well, you heard me ask Mike Shildt a little bit earlier about Jake Cronenworth and what he's doing offensively this season. Cronenworth, if you break down his offensive numbers, he's pacing for a career high in on-base percentage. It's .368 coming into today. He's also pacing for the most walks in his career, and it does really feel like Jake has had a really nice offensive season, kind of quietly. Of course, Jake right now making an impact with his defense as well, his defensive versatility, playing shortstop here today. Remember, he made the start in Colorado, his first start at shortstop in nearly 3 years, and now he's starting there for his second time this season here today. So Cronenworth at short, Arraez at second, O'Hearn at first base, Manny at third. The infield defense for the Padres here today. And I caught up with Jake Cronenworth inside the Padres clubhouse to talk about going back to playing shortstop and much, much more. Sam Levitt here on the Padres Radio Network as we get ready for today's game. And right now I'm joined by Jake Cronenworth. And Jake, you made your first start at shortstop in nearly 3 years on Sunday. What was it like being back at short?
Oh, it was fun. I enjoyed it. It was a great time.
I feel like I've seen a lot of the ground balls, not all of them, but a lot of them you've taken over the course of the past few years. It's not like you're constantly taking ground balls on that side of the infield. What was the preparation like for you getting ready to play short?
Yeah, thankfully I've been kind of doing it once or twice a week for almost the whole season now. Usually on day games I'll go out there and or just to get over there and, kind of let the arm air out a little bit and just have some fun with it.
The play you made to your right, I mean, that's about as good of a play as a shortstop's going to make. You go back and watch that.
No, that was a good one. Just trying to be an athlete out there.
Hey, offensively, you look at some of your numbers from an on-base standpoint. I mean, the best of your career right now. How would you sort of sum up what this year has been for you from an on-base standpoint?
No, I mean, I felt like, probably more than any point in my career, this is probably the most consistent I've been. Just putting together really quality at-bats and, just trusting the process more than anything.
When you say consistent at-bats process, is that approach? Is that the way you're, reading pitchers? What exactly does that mean?
I think there's some approach in there, and I think a lot of it is just, whatever happens the day before, it's the day before, and you go out the next day and try to have your 4 or 5 best at-bats, whatever you're getting that night.
Do you feel like going from one day to the next, you're doing that better than you have in years past?
Yeah, probably the best I've ever done. Not trying to reflect on the night before and going out today and figuring out how I can have 2 or 3 really good at bats off the dolo.
Is there anything you can pinpoint as far as change to your mindset that would lead to that?
Age? Yeah. I think that's about it.
More experience. Yeah, you always get better. Also the walks. I mean, even though you missed some time earlier in the year, I mean, you're pacing to maybe finish with the most walks of your career. Is that something you also have tried to do, walk more?
I don't think you try to walk more. I think it's just, I think it goes back to the plan of attack and kind of your approach going to the plate. Looking and hunting for your specific pitch you're looking for. And, if you don't get it and you walk, great.
That was Jake Cronenworth earlier inside the Padres clubhouse. We'll see how Jake does here tonight, both offensively and getting the start at shortstop for the second time this season. Jake batting 8th in the Padres lineup here tonight. First pitch is coming up at 5:40 here at Petco Park as we get ready for the rubber game of this 3-game series between the Padres and the Cincinnati Reds. Nick Pivetta on the mound for the Padres, Andrew Abbott on the mound for Cincinnati. We'll talk more about our starting pitching matchup coming up in just a little while. As always, we invite you to chime in with your keys to tonight's game. You can do that on X at Sammy Lev, SammyLev. Instagram DMs open as well. Sammy Lev there too. You can also chime in on the 97.3 The Fan YouTube stream. Eric on YouTube saying, the keys to tonight's game: score early, score often, don't let the other team score. Eric, hopefully it can be as simple as that. We have the Padres in Play Dates podcast saying that Pivetta continuing to be lights out is a key to today's game. Certainly Nick has been awesome this season for the Padres, so a good performance from Nick Pivetta. Certainly a big key for the Padres here today. Let's take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard.
Let's take a trip around the bigs to highlight the scores that matter most with our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Premium Beef Patties. Always a hit for grilling.
Take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard on this Wednesday evening. We have a lot of games going on right now. We do have a few finals as well. Let's begin in Anaheim today, where the Angels beat the Twins 4-3. D-backs beat the Giants 5-3 in San Francisco. A's beat the Red Sox 5-4 in Sacramento. Rangers beat the Brewers 6-3. They swept the Rangers in Arlington. Games going on right now. Pirates ahead of the Orioles 1-0 in Baltimore in the 7th inning. Guardians lead the Royals 3-2 in Cleveland in the 6th inning. Nationals ahead of the Marlins 3-0 in Miami in the 6th inning. Phillies lead the Mets 3-1 in the 5th inning in Philadelphia. Tigers and the Yankees are scoreless in New York in the 4th. Astros and the Blue Jays in Toronto. Astros leading 1-0 in the 5th inning. Cubs lead the Braves 2-1 in Atlanta in the 4th inning. White Sox lead the Rays 3-1 in the second. Games yet to begin aside from this one. Cardinals and the Mariners in Seattle at 6:40. Rockies and the Dodgers in LA at 7:10. And that is a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard. We'll have much more on all those games coming up a little bit later during our post-game coverage. When we come back, we dive into a key aspect of tonight's game from a Padres standpoint. We also talk plenty about today's starting pitching matchup between Nick Pivetta and Andrew Abbott. First pitch coming up at 5:40 right here on the Padres Radio Network.
Every game is extremely important, but anytime you have a chance to win a series against a good team, it's a game that you want to take full advantage of.
That was Gavin Sheets earlier inside the Padres clubhouse talking about this series finale against the Cincinnati Reds. The Padres with an opportunity to win this 3-game series here today. First pitch coming up at 5:40. Gavin Sheets, the DH for the Padres today, and batting cleanup. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park. As we get ready for this one, let's tell you what to watch for.
What's the one thing Sam Levitt will be keeping his eye on in today's game? This is What to Watch For, presented by Genesis Home Improvements, San Diego's trusted painting, roofing, and window company. Save 15% today on a new beginning for your home. Visit GenesisHomeImprovementsSD.com.
What to watch for in tonight's game. How do the Padres navigate their bullpen tonight? Here's why. Robert Suarez has pitched 2 days in a row. Mason Miller has pitched 2 days in a row. Jeremiah Estrada has pitched 2 days in a row. And all those guys have also pitched 3 out of their last 4 days. Now, we're getting to the time of year where it's not inconceivable that you could have a reliever throw 3 days in a row. However, will the Padres want to do that with their most important bullpen arms? We'll see. Wandy Peralta has also pitched 2 days in a row, but he's thrown just a total of 12 pitches. So to put it really simply, Suarez, Miller, Estrada, Peralta all have thrown 2 straight days. David Morgan hasn't pitched in a couple of days. Adrian Morahone didn't pitch yesterday. Guys like Ron Marinaccio, Kyle Hart, Yuki Matsui haven't been used a lot lately. They may be relied upon in this game here today, an important game for the Padres. So that's what to watch for in tonight's game. How does Mike Shildt navigate this bullpen with Mason Miller, Jeremiah Estrada, and Robert Suarez and Wandy Peralta all pitching 2 days in a row? Going to be kind of fascinating tonight to see how the Padres get through it, but they do have right-hander Nick Pivetta on the mound, and as we know, Pivetta has been absolutely stellar for the Padres this season. Let's talk more about that as we break down tonight's full pitching matchup.
Let's take a look at who's on the bump today with our starting pitching preview on the Padres Radio Network.
Right-hander Nick Pivetta on the mound for the Padres today. The 32-year-old in the midst of the best season of his career, 13-5, a 2.85 ERA, 28 starts, 164 innings and a third on the year, 144 hits given up, 172 strikeouts to 44 walks, a 192 opponent batting average, 4th lowest opponent batting average in the major leagues this season. He's been exceptional his last 13 starts, a 2.02 ERA and a 165 opponent batting average. His last start in Colorado over the weekend, 6 innings, 2 runs given up. Padres lost that game at 3-0. Last faced the Reds while pitching for the Red Sox in June of last year, gave up 3 runs in 4 innings and a third. Ellie De La Cruz and Spencer Steer both hit home runs against Pivetta in that game. Austin Hayes, who's in the lineup today for Cincinnati, 0-18 in his career against Pivetta. De La Cruz also in the lineup, but the other guy that hit a home run against him, Spencer Steer, is not. So keep an eye on that tonight. Left-hander Andrew Abbott on the mound for Cincinnati, 26 years old. He has a 2.88 ERA in 25 starts this season, 143 and 2/3 innings, 130 strikeouts, 40 walks. Abbott allowed 5 runs on 9 hits in 4 2/3 innings against the Mets on Friday. He's been good this year, but he's been much shakier as of late. A 4.91 ERA in his last 7 starts. That follows a stretch where Abbott had a 2.09 ERA in his first 18 starts of the season. A big difference for him is fastball effectiveness. In those first 18 starts, opposing hitters batted just 199 against his 4-seam fastball. In the last 7 outings, opposing hitters are batting 253 against that 4-seamer. Abbott has been really good against the Padres in his career. 3 career starts against them, a 0.92 ERA, faced them in late June in Cincinnati, gave up 1 run in 5 innings. And that's a look at a good pitching matchup here today. Left-hander Andrew Abbott on the mound for Cincinnati, and right-hander Nick Pivetta on the mound for San Diego. As always, thank you for listening to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. EcoWater SoCal, keeping it soft since 1925. Your water should be perfect. Well, should be a fun one here tonight at Petco Park on what's turning into an absolutely gorgeous Wednesday evening. Padres falling in 10 innings, or I should say winning in 10 innings on Monday night by a final score of 4-3. Then the Reds bouncing back yesterday with a 4-2 win of their own. Can the Padres win this series, take 2 out of 3, and keep things rolling as we roll on in the month of September? We're going to find out. When we come back, Jesse Agler, Bob Scanlan have the full starting lineups, first pitch, and all the play-by-play. I'll talk to you on our post-game coverage. You're listening to your home for San Diego Padres baseball, 97.3 The Fan, and the Padres Radio Network. Enjoy the game, everybody.